Imagine a world without screens, without phones, without even a written word. A world where the horizon isn't just a view, but a barrier. How would you send an urgent message to the next valley? How would you warn your neighbors of approaching danger or share news of a great hunt? This is the world of our earliest ancestors, and their solutions were nothing short of brilliant. They didn't have technology as we know it, but they had fire, they had rhythm, and they had the sky itself. Today, we're going to explore the forgotten language of long-distance communication, the primal signals that laid the foundation for the connected world we live in now. This is the story of how humanity first learned to speak across miles. It all begins with the simplest, most powerful element our ancestors tamed: fire. At night, nothing travels farther or faster than light. A single bonfire on a hilltop could be seen for dozens of miles, a beacon in the darkness. But it wasn't just a simple light. Ancient cultures developed complex codes based on these fires. The ancient Greeks, during the Trojan War, are said to have used a chain of bonfires stretching across the Aegean Sea to announce the fall of Troy. One fire lit, then another, and another. A relay of light carrying a single, vital message in just a few hours. Think about the coordination required. Each station had to be manned, ever watchful, ready to ignite their own pyre the moment they saw the distant flame. It was the world's first wireless network, powered by flame and vigilance. But what about the daytime, when the sun is high? A bonfire's light is washed out and useless. This is where smoke comes in. By day, smoke is far more visible than fire. And just like with fire, our ancestors didn't just create a single plume. They learned to manipulate it. By covering the fire with a wet blanket and then quickly removing it, they could create distinct puffs of smoke. One puff might mean all clear. 2 puffs, enemy spotted. 3 puffs, gather for a council. Native American tribes across the Great Plains were masters of this. They developed sophisticated smoke signal languages. The color of the smoke, its shape, and its frequency all held specific meanings, creating a visual dialogue across the vast open landscape. It was a silent, ephemeral language, written on the wind. Now let's move from sight to sound. In dense jungles or rugged mountain terrain where sight lines are poor, a different solution was needed. The answer was the drum. The deep, resonant boom of a large drum can travel for miles, penetrating thick forests and echoing through valleys where a smoke signal would be lost. But these weren't just simple beats. In many parts of Africa, so-called talking drums were developed. These hourglass-shaped drums could mimic the pitch and rhythm of human speech. A skilled drummer wasn't just beating out a code. They were literally speaking with their drum. They could replicate the tones of their native language, allowing them to send incredibly complex messages, announcements of births, deaths, festivals, or even just gossip. It was a true long-distance conversation, a thundering voice that bound communities together. These drums were often part of a larger network. A message could be relayed from one village to the next, drummer to drummer, covering hundreds of miles in a remarkably short time. European explorers were often stunned to find that news of their arrival had traveled far ahead of them, broadcast through the jungle's intricate bush telegraph. This sonic web was the lifeblood of the community, an audible connection that transcended physical distance. It demonstrates an incredible understanding of acoustics and language, a technology woven from wood, animal skin, and human ingenuity. The forest itself became a living communication system. Beyond fire and drums, humans used their own bodies and simple tools to create visual signals. Think of semaphore, the system of using flags to spell out messages. While the formal system we know is relatively modern, the basic principle is ancient. Ancient Romans used a system of flags and panels on watchtowers along their borders. The position of a flag, the color of a panel, or the movement of a torch could convey prearranged messages, like enemies sighted to the north or supply convoy approaching. These signals were fast and effective for military communication. It was a system built for speed and clarity, where a single glance could provide vital battlefield intelligence. The Roman Empire's vastness was managed, in part, by these simple visual telegrams. Another fascinating method is the Alpine horn. In the sprawling mountain ranges of the Alps, the deep, mournful call of a long wooden horn, or alphorn, was used by herders to communicate from one mountain pasture to another. Its sound could carry 4 miles across the valleys. While it couldn't convey complex sentences like a talking drum, it could send simple, essential messages. A call to gather the cows, a signal for help, or just a musical hello to a neighbor on a distant peak. It was a way of making a vast and sometimes lonely landscape feel a little smaller, a little more connected. The music itself became the message, a shared soundscape for the mountain communities. What all of these methods have in common is a profound connection to the environment. Our ancestors used the natural properties of light, smoke, sound, and the landscape itself as their tools. They understood how sound travels through a valley, how smoke billows in the wind, and how light pierces the darkness. This wasn't just about sending messages. It was about being deeply in tune with the world around them. Each signal was a collaboration between human intention and the forces of nature. Their communication was organic, living, and powerful. It's a stark contrast to our modern digital world, where our signals are invisible and our connection to the physical process is often lost. From the flickering fire to the thundering drum, from the puff of smoke to the wave of a flag. These early signaling methods were the first great leaps in human communication. They allowed us to coordinate, to cooperate, and to build communities on a scale never before possible. They were the foundation upon which every later invention, from the telegraph to the internet, was built. The next time you send a text message that crosses the globe in an instant, take a moment to remember these ancient signals. Remember the watchman waiting for a distant fire, the drummer speaking to the jungle, and the silent language of the smoke. They were the pioneers who first taught us how to conquer distance and connect our world.